Vicenza Provveditorato di Studi, I would say. So we have here Pigafetta, Quadri, Ioi, Boscardin, Daschio, and Ross. These are the institutes who honor us with their presence. Thank you so much. Grazie mille for being here. It means a lot for us. We have plenty of challenges. Here we are, the deputy mayor. Please, madam. We are looking for you. We are really excited. We look forward to our partnership. You may have plenty of opportunity with us. As 19 different universities across Italy and also somewhere in the world enjoy the cooperation with us. So deep dive into our skills, capability, and function, and let's see whether we can do something together. So this means that everybody is welcome at co-expert team. Within the co-expert team, we have a mantra: ideas hold neither ranks nor degree certificate. Idea hold neither ranks nor degree certificate. It's a mantra. Whoever comes to the team can bring his expertise, his idea. So please push and keep pushing. So now, as we look forward to the new academic year, it is good that it is time indeed to reflect on the journey we have undertaken so far, the challenges we have overcome, and the ambitions that will guide us in the months and years ahead. So before we look forward, let's look back for a couple of minutes. This round of applause goes to the COESPU team. Thank you so much. We closed this video in the middle of December, so it doesn't cover the last 15 days of December, but trust me, there is a lot behind. So you saw that almost 1,000 people have been trained last year, out of almost 16,000 people trained in almost 20 years. So this shows you how much we have done. You saw exercises, concept development, and other things. So behind the wall of these barracks, you can see how much we work and we train and we do our best to support peace and stability crosswise. So the achievements highlighted in video are a sort of testament, again, not only of the incredible team of the COESP, but to all those who make our mission possible. The Arma dei Carabinieri, the US Department of State, the United Nations, the European Gendarmerie Force and Permanent Quarters, the NATO Stability Policing Center of Excellence, but also the community of Vicenza. And all those universities and schools that believe in our mission, with which we are partners. So we are truly a team of teams. As I mentioned, this year marks also the 20th anniversary of the COESPU Foundation. Over the course of the years, we became sort of beacon of excellence, training, exercise, doctrine development, and education, preparing peacekeepers and stability police units across the world. 128 countries deployed their personnel here, 128 out of 196, which means that the remaining ones do not require such training because of maybe they are developed enough to conduct alone such activities. But out of them, out of the 196 countries, 128 attended the center only for training. This speaks volumes. And so this June, with our Diamond event, the Human Security Symposium, we will celebrate the 20th anniversary. There are several events ongoing. The European Association Peacekeeping Training Centers will gather in Vicenza, June, but also November, the International Association for Peacekeeping Training Centers, almost 220 people will gather in Vicenza as well to celebrate with us the 20th anniversary and to mark their annual event. And then we will have also the Army Monuments Officer Training, the Monuments Men, in cooperation with the United States Army, as well as the Stability Policing Day, the hub day of the three institutions which form this hub, just to mention a few events. So let me go to a close. In today's ever-evolving world, where stability and security are constantly threatened by global conflict, technological advance, shifting geopolitical dynamics, everybody watches the news, and rampant disinformation, our work has never been more relevant and the strength of our partnership never more crucial. But which is, or what is, our objective? To be master of our craft, professional, excellent, innovative, and resilient, relentlessly pursuing a safer and more just world. Then, may this academic year, the COESPU 20th academic year, mark another chapter in our relentless pursuit of excellence, as my deputy loved saying, and bring renewed dedication to long-term peace and development, the common values that unite us all. Thank you so much.
Three graduate students who have attended internship programs at COESPU will now give a short presentation of their master thesis. The first to present is Miss Melissa Pederzolli from University of Turin. Her thesis is titled The Hidden Trade, How Cultural Heritage Smuggling Fuels Terrorism. Miss Pederzolli, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the Commandant de Magistris for the opportunity to carry out my internship at the Center of Excellence. Thank you. Today, I want to bring your attention to a critical yet often overlooked issue, the illicit trade in cultural heritage and its direct link to terrorism. Why we are addressing this topic? Because cultural heritage smuggling is more than just a matter of stolen art. It's the erasure of history, the destruction of identity, and a threat to peace and security, as stated by the UN Security Council in the Resolution 2347 in 2017. Starting from the basic, what is cultural heritage smuggling? It's a multi-million-dollar industry that involves illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property. This phenomenon can take different forms. For example, that for cultural heritage institution or private collection, looting of archaeological sites, or displacement of artifacts due to war. But this practice is far from new. Throughout history, conquering armies have plundered cultural heritage all over the world. For example, consider the Crusade, the Napoleon expedition in Egypt, and European colonial rule across the America, Africa, and Asia. Today, this illicit trade continues with another threat. It's now a financial engine for criminal organization and terrorist groups. Why tracking this trade is extremely difficult? One first problem concerns the difficulty to prove origins of the stolen artifacts, because looters use falsified documentation, restoration techniques, and online marketplace to disguise the origins of the stolen artifacts. At a law and enforcement level, many countries lack of comprehensive laws and strict regulation, while others have weak border and border control, allowing smuggled items to circulate freely. Moreover, war and instability create opportunities for looters who exploit the absence of law enforcement. And lastly, compared to drug or arms trafficking, the penalties for smuggling antiquities are far less severe, making it an attractive, low-risk, high-reward crime. But how does it work? So in this slide, you can see a possible scenario of the illicit flow of cultural property. The first step in the process, of course, is the looting. These artifacts then are sold to middlemen that may be dealers, smugglers, or collectors. The middlemen then transport and falsify the provenance records, moving the antiquities through a network of buyer and seller, each of whom takes steps to further conceal the provenance of the illegal object. As they move through the trafficking chain, artifacts are cleaned, restored, and given fake documentation to appear legitimate. By the time the antiquities reach the final buyer, they may have been transformed beyond recognition and nearly impossible to detect. But how do terrorists benefit from this trade? Investigative work in the last year has revealed three main ways. First, by controlling and supervising the looting of archaeological sites and profit directly from excavation. Second, imposing fees on looters and trafficking, moving goods through their territory. And third, by acquiring the antiquities and selling them directly. Of course, the profits are used to buy weapons, fund recruitment, and sustain their rule. Then, there are cases in which terrorist groups have turned antiquity smuggling into a structured business model. This is the case of the terrorist group named Daesh. These information are based on the US Special Operation Raid on the Abu Sayyaf group's compound in May 2015. That shed light on the systematic, organized, and institutionalized process of looting and trafficking of cultural heritage by the Daesh. So, very briefly, they create an office to regulate looting, issue an excavation permit in change for a share of the profit. With these permits, looters begin unauthorized excavation in Daesh-controlled territory. At stage 3, looters kept 80% of the profit from initial sale. But if artifacts remained unsold for 3-5 weeks, Daesh Department of Antiquities stepped in, reclaiming the artifacts and searching for buyers themselves. At stage 4, the profit distribution shifts. 40% goes to the looter and 60% goes to Daesh. If no buyer is found through private sale, then Daesh Central Governing Office to control, auctioning artifacts in Raqqa, Syria, where Daesh claim 80% of the revenue. This pattern, though, has been observed also with FARC in Latin America, warlords and militia in Africa, Lebanon, and Africa. Today, this global market continues to fuel criminal and extremist activities. But what can we say about routes? We know that smuggling routes follow paths similar to drug and trafficking and armed trafficking, but mapping these routes is challenging to the clandestine nature of the trade. However, we know that countries involved in trafficking are categorized as source countries, transit countries, and destination markets. Source countries, often war zones or places with poorly protected cultural sites. Transit countries provide passage, often to weak regulation, reports, or strategic location. And destination markets are countries with a large market of art and antiquities. From Interpol report for 2022, we can extract some general trend. As I already said, illicit cultural goods follow the same trafficking routes as other illicit commodities. Europe is the major destination for cultural objects, while countries in Asia reported to be both a source for European, Asia, and America, and a destination for goods originating from the Middle East and North America. And since 2000, Russia and China have also emerged as new markets. But what can be done? Addressing this issue requires a multi-level approach. There are some actions that can be and are being implemented over the past year to contrast the global challenge. Between these, international cooperation among organizations, law enforcement agencies, and government is crucial for standardizing legal framework, sharing information, monitoring cultural goods transportation, and conducting joint investigation. I think that the coordinated effort is vital in addressing all the type of transnational crime and closing also legal gaps. Instead, at the national level, progress depends on government commitment, starting with the ratification and enforcement of international legal instruments. And also, on a technical level, various tools have been developed for law enforcement agency and heritage professionals. I will bring you some examples. The Object ID standard developed by the J. Paul Getty's Trust, the Interpol database of stolen work of art, the ICOM red list that had them quickly identify for a given country or region the categories of objects particularly exposed to the traffic, and of course the Carabinieri TPC, Tutela Patrimonio Culturale database, that by now is the largest computerized archive in the world, specifically dedicated to illegally stolen cultural heritage. In conclusion, while progress has been made, much more is needed to close legal loopholes, increase accountability, and disrupt this global criminal enterprise. Let's leave with this Interpol quote. Cultural heritage crime is not a victimless crime. It robs people of their history and identity while funding organized crime and terrorism. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Francesco Ranieri from University of Turin will now present his thesis titled Assessing the Role of the Media Environment in the Evolution of Iraq's Insurgency.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to WESCO and to all the authorities. Today, I will provide a brief assessment of the media's role in shaping the course of events during the Iraq's insurgency. Following the American-led intervention in Iraq in 2003, many hoped the collapse of Saddam Hussein's regime would usher in a new era of progress and stability. Unfortunately, these hopes were soon dashed as a potent insurgency took root, spreading violence across the country. The causes of this rebellion were multifaceted, shaped by a variety of factors. The insurgency itself was far from unified, consisting of former members of Hussein's Ba'ath Party, local warlords, and radical groups. Notably, the ranks of these radical groups were significantly reinforced by foreign fighters, and among them was a man, at the time already known by his nom de guerre, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. Al-Zarqawi's arrival in Iraq marked a pivotal moment in region's history. Trained by Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, he founded Al-Qaeda in Iraq, a group that would later evolve into Daesh. However, al-Zarqawi did not live to see the birth of the caliphate, as he was killed in 2006. One of al-Zarqawi's primary objectives was to provoke a sectarian conflict between Iraq's two largest religious groups, the Sunnis, to whom he claimed allegiance, and the Shias. The relationship between these communities had long been difficult, particularly under Saddam Hussein's regime. Shia populations concentrated in southern Iraq and along the Iranian border had repeatedly clashed with the government. Shia militias were formed and posed a consistent challenge to Hussein's rule. Following its collapse, these militias moved to assert control over territories, frequently clashing with rival groups. And Zarqawi decided to exploit these divisions, orchestrating attacks on Shia communities to exacerbate sectarian tensions. Following his death, his organization's agenda of inciting sectarian conflict persisted, and simultaneously, Shia militias grew increasingly prominent and powerful. In the years that followed, hence, the rise of Daesh on one side and the strengthening of local militias on the other further exacerbated the sectarian conflict. In this climate of widespread violence and chaos, the media's role in amplifying sectarian narratives, demonizing enemies, and propagating fear becomes especially significant. As in many other countries, people's understanding of current events is shaped by a combination of interpersonal communication and media consumption, particularly television news. However, Iraq differs from other countries due to its highly fragmented media landscape, which reflects the country's demographic and sectarian divisions. The 2003 war in Iraq brought important changes to the country's media landscape. Under Saddam Hussein's regime, media was controlled by the state, but after the war, Iraq experienced a media explosion with over 100 new newspapers and numerous radio and television stations emerging. Political elites and factions operating largely along ethnic and sectarian lines turned media outlets into tools for propaganda, mobilization, and the reinforcement of group identities. This trend was evident across all Iraq's religious and ethnic communities, including Sunnis, Shias, Kurds, Turkmen. The result was a pluralistic, yet deeply fragmented media environment dominated by political and sectarian actors pursuing political and sectarian agendas. The case of the Sunni community is particularly noteworthy, as its perception of Daesh were significantly shaped by narratives within certain Sunni medias. In Western Iraq, Anbar province, for example, media coverage played a substantial role in contributing to Daesh insurgency efforts. While no television channel openly supported Daesh, several outlets echoed its narratives, highlighting the Iraqi government's alleged connections to Iran, its backing of certain Shia militias, which were accused of targeting Sunni communities in contested areas through violence, abductions, or forced displacement. Media portrayal of Daesh also reflect shifting opinions about insurgents, often influenced by political consideration. Daesh fighters were sometimes referred to as revolutionaries, but depending on whom they targeted, they were alternatively labeled also as gunmen or murderers. This dynamic was not confined to a local level. On a regional scale, in fact, certain media outlets played a comparable role in shaping perceptions. While not supportive of Daesh, some provided largely neutral coverage of the group, while portraying the Iraqi government as hostile towards Sunnis and emphasizing crimes committed by some militias. Similarly, other publications quoted individuals expressing relief at Daesh takeover in Western Iraq, while these residents were not necessarily core supporters of Daesh, some felt safer under its rule, at least initially. These dynamics contributed to a media environment that, whether intentionally or not, facilitated the spread of misinformation and influenced perceptions in certain regions of Iraq. This does not suggest that Sunni communities broadly supported or willingly aligned with Daesh, but rather that some view the group as no worse than a government perceived as working closely with certain Shia militias. While there were documented cases of human rights violation by some militias, it would be inaccurate to generalize all such groups in this manner. However, some media narratives reinforce this perception, leading segments of Sunni communities to see these militias as a significant threat. The issue was exacerbated by Iraq's army's difficulties in confronting the challenge posed by Daesh. As a result, many military operations were undertaken by militias, furthering tensions and fears already propagated by the strongly politicized media environment. It must be said that Sunni communities frequently rose against Daesh after experiencing its rule firsthand, as propaganda and misinformation failed to secure their support in the face of brutal governance, including summary executions and torture. By that time, however, the sectarian conflict had already inflicted profound and tragic wounds to Iraqi society. For these reasons, in conclusion, the Iraqi experience remains a powerful example of how information, misinformation, and disinformation can shape perceptions and significantly influence the course of events. Thank you.
Miss Maddalena Milani.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So, I'm Maddalena Milani, as we said, and I'm currently studying in the field of international security. And I had the opportunity to be an intern here at COESPU for 5 months in the Press and Public Communication Office. It is a great honor to be here today to mark the beginning of the new academic year, even though I couldn't manage to be there in person. I truly appreciate this opportunity, and I'm excited to share my research and thoughts on a topic that I'm sure affects us all. I really hope I managed to share the, yeah, okay. So, fact or fiction, the power of misinformation and disinformation in the digital era. It is indeed a current critical issue. So, misinformation, disinformation, and fake news. These terms are often used interchangeably, but they have distinct meanings. Misinformation can be defined as the manipulation or omission of data leading to misleading conclusions. So, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, incomplete or distorted information fueled confusion and mistrust. It has been really hard for the public to distinguish truth from manipulation. Then we have disinformation that can be seen as the deliberate spread of false information to manipulate public perception or obscure the truth. So, for example, during election campaigns, internal and or external actors have used disinformation to manipulate voters and deepen societal divisions. Last but not least, fake news. So fake news are completely fabricated stories presented as real news, often designed to provoke emotional reactions or reinforce biases. A new important phenomenon is the production and use of deep fakes. So deep fakes are AI-generated videos or images that manipulate reality, making people appear to say or do things that they actually never did. This technology blurs the line between truth and fiction, posing serious risks, especially around the politics sphere. While these challenges feel specifically urgent today, I mean, they are urgent, but they're not new. In ancient Rome, for example, rulers spread falsehoods to secure power and discredit their opponents, using propaganda to shape the image of emperors and justify political action. Similarly, during World War II, both Allied and Axis powers employed large-scale propaganda campaigns to influence public opinion, to boost morale and demonize the enemy. From fabricated battlefield victories to exaggerated enemies' atrocities, these tactics have always been instrumental in shaping national narratives. And of course, today, modern conflicts continue to weaponize information. The key point, indeed, is that misinformation and disinformation have always been used to shape public perception and influence decision making. I believe that Thomas' theorem actually fits perfectly to explain the mechanism. I'm sure that some of you are already familiar with it. So the theorem states that if men define situations as real, they are real in their consequences. This highlights how public perception, even when based on falsehoods, can drive and do drive to real-world actions and consequences. Throughout history, propaganda and manipulated narratives have served and reached various goals. So, for example, guiding elections, sustaining or refusing alliances, and they have also played a key role in war interventions. I mean, with public opinion sustaining or not a state intervention, and in the request for escalation or de-escalation of conflicts by framing these conflicts in a certain and specific way. Obviously, in the digital era, because of globalization, development in technology, and the spread of social media, these instruments have reached unprecedented levels. These are all things that we already know, but sometimes we don't realize the real-time impact that they have. Because today, false information can reach millions instantly, influencing political stability, public health, and social cohesion. Furthermore, misinformation and disinformation have profound implications for national and international security. The impact extends beyond politics, directly affecting law enforcement and police operation. And I guess most of you have experienced these situations on the field. So it actually has an impact both on the domestic and international level. So on the domestic level, false narrative can escalate tensions between law enforcement and communities, eroding trust and making policing efforts more difficult. While on the international level, for example, in peacekeeping missions, in UN missions, or during stability policing operations, disinformation campaigns can erode the legitimacy of forces, spread hostility, and hinder their ability to protect civilians, which is often the aim of a mission, usually. You know? So let's think about it. A single photograph can tell very different stories depending on the perspective from which it is taken. So, for example, an image showing a police officer and a civilian can convey to two completely opposite narratives based on the angle of the shot. From one perspective, the officer might appear to be protecting the civilian. From another, the same scene could make it seem as the officer is the aggressor. It is indeed evident that narrative control has become a strategic battlefield, and the ability to counteract disinformation and communicate effectively is now a fundamental aspect of security operation. During my internship at COESPU, I had the chance to witness firsthand how crucial effective communication is and how difficult it can be to produce it in such a peculiar environment. Social media, in particular, have become a powerful tool for engagement. Military forces are increasingly using digital platforms to counter misinformation, to strengthen community trust, which I believe to be the most important element. And it is what I tried to develop even more during my internship and maintain stability in conflict zones. Thus, it is fundamental to enforce strategic communication, trust building, I will say it again because I really think it's important, and digital literacy. So, to educate the public to critically evaluate misleading context, because of course there is the need to start from the bottom if we want a conscious and responsible society. To conclude, I've been brief. I believe that right now, only by acknowledging, on one hand, the dangers of disinformation and misinformation and actively countering it, on the other hand, can we safeguard public trust, strengthen security, and, above all, first of all, preserve the integrity of democratic institutions. So, thank you for your attention. I hope it was interesting and I look forward to any question you may have.
General Cinque, General de Magistris, to our distinguished guests, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. To echo the words of our Commandant, I am deeply honored to be able to join you as we launch the 2025 academic year here at COESPU. And I'd invite you, as I begin to share a few thoughts, to look around the room. Seriously, take a moment, turn in your seat, look around the room, and think about what this audience says about the mission of COESPU. We have the Arma dei Carabinieri. We have the United Nations waiting to address us online, the province of Vicenza, the city of Vicenza, our partners from Europe and NATO, and a new generation of students committed to the ideas of stability policing. In all we do here at COESPU, it is about partnerships. Partnerships between the United States and Italy. Partnerships between the American Army and the Carabinieri. Partnerships between Italy and the United Nations. And partnerships within Italy and the community here in Vicenza. Partnerships between generations, recognizing that security and prosperity of our world depends on young and old alike joining hands to bring forth strength for today and a bright hope for tomorrow. And for the past 20 years, that is exactly what COESPU has done, working tirelessly towards building enduring peace in the face of persistent conflict. In partnership with the United States Department of State and the Global Peace Operations Initiative, we are proud to say that we have trained more than 15,000 professional stability police officers from over 128 countries, 19 different international organizations, dramatically expanding the capacity for stability police around the globe. And today, the United States of America remains proud to stand beside Italy, to stand beside the Carabinieri, and to stand beside COESPU as we work towards peace and stability. And there can be no doubt, COESPU's work is important, but it is not easy. The complex challenges that face us today require new and powerful ideas. And that's why we're gathered here today. COESPU's 2025 academic year is an ambitious testament to the power of ideas. Ideas matter. Ideas have the power to build up or tear down. Ideas have the power to inspire or to discourage. And ideas have the power to solve problems or to cause problems. So those of you who are gathered here today and listening around the world must join us in our commitment to discovering, refining, and advancing the best ideas possible, because ideas matter. And because there are millions of vulnerable people around the globe today who depend on the qualities of ideas that we'll pursue this next academic year. There are countless governments frustrated and overwhelmed by the challenge they face who are counting on the quality of our ideas. And somewhere at this very moment, in a crowded city square, in some remote corner of the globe, stands a policewoman who's guarding her post. And the quality of our ideas and the quality of our training matter to her. So let's make the work of this academic year matter. Let's take it seriously. So I would invite you, if you're faculty, master your craft. If you're a trainer, refine your instruction. If you're a student, study that much harder. If you're an administrator, make sure that you bring to bear every resource that you have to make this academic year a success. I believe firmly that today, across the broad and diverse partnerships that are represented in this room, COESPU can advance ideas that make an impact. So thank you to everyone who is here for the investments that you have made and you will make in the mission of COESPU. I look forward with great expectation to learning about the ideas that we create this year. Thank you.
Floor to our keynote speaker. So let's improvise. Let's see whether it comes out. 3, 2, 1. The floor is yours. Yes, whatever works best for you works for us. Thank you. Change the screen, please.
I had a PowerPoint.
Siamo ok. No, wait for a sec.
Very good. How do I move forward? Yeah, no, technology. Yeah.
The remote doesn't work. Here we are. It works. With the speaker.
That's forward.
Forward, back.
Very good.
Backward, forward.
Very good. I'm actually going to talk about technology in a second. We may still have our challenge. So thanks a lot. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear students. It's really a pleasure to be here today. I'm really deeply grateful for this opportunity to join you here on behalf of United Nations Inter-Regional Crime and Justice Research Institute, that's the long name, UNICRI, as regard to mark the opening of this academic year hosted by the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Units, COESPU, that I learned this afternoon as well. Perhaps just a few words about myself. My name, as mentioned, is Leif Villadsen. I'm from Denmark. I've been with UNICRI since 7, 8 years now, I think it is. 1.5 years soon. But I've been with the United Nations since 25 years. I worked for many, many years in the Middle East, North Africa, bit South Africa as well, but mainly the Middle East, North Africa, many countries, Egypt, Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, and that as well, but also in Southern Sudan, it was called at that time, and it became South Sudan, etc., etc. So in many of these countries in the past, before that, I also worked in Asia, particularly in Laos, actually, and some of the other countries, the Golden Triangle, it was called at that time. Just a few words. I mean, we already heard it a few times. The Center of Excellence plays really an integral role in ongoing global efforts to enhance the effectiveness of law enforcement agencies and peace operations worldwide. So I'm really delighted to attend this important event today and to have this opportunity to discuss with you some of the most pressing security threats affecting our societies. At the heart of this center's missions lies a commitment to strengthening peace and security across the globe. And UNICRI is strongly aligned with this commitment. It's proud to support the objectives of the Center of Excellence and also to be a partner. I think I heard the word partnership several times, so I really like to emphasize that as well. We really look forward to this partnership. Together, we aim to respond to the complex challenges of modern policing and peacekeeping, particularly in the context of new emerging technologies and new global security dynamics. So that is where I see very low technology. Just a few words about UNICRI. To provide a bit of a context for the intervention today, or for my intervention today. UNICRI is a United Nations, we like to call it a specialized agency, a specialized unit, established back in 1968 actually, so we are a relatively old organization. We were called something else until 20, 30 years ago. Not sure about the name actually, but back in the 90s we were renamed UNICRI. And we are basically established to support the countries worldwide in preventing crime, preventing terrorism, facilitate criminal justice. We are based in Torino, far away from here, but we mainly work in countries around the world. Africa, North Africa, Middle East, Asia, now also in Latin America, more and more in Central Asia as well, and recently also in the countries of Eastern Europe. So we have program officers who are actually implementing our programs around the world. I know that in the word UNICRI, it only has this research. And I never really understood why we are not called a research and training institute, because we are really a research and training institute. UNICRI is one of the 6 research and training institutes within the UN system. But we are the only one with a mandate specifically focusing on criminal justice and crime prevention. So we should really have been called a research and training institute and not only research institute. There were some discussions in some of the previous presentations. I mean, last year, for example, we provided training for more than, I think, around 5,000 law enforcement and criminal justice experts around the world, undertaking hundreds of training sessions, sometimes in Turin, but most of the time actually in the beneficiary countries, whether in Asia, Africa, or somewhere else. We also have 2 master programs actually, one in traditional one, criminal justice, transnational organized crime, and then we also have one in cybercrime and cybersecurity that we just launched recently. Up here, I just actually tried to outline the 5 strategic priorities of the 5 strategic priorities of UNICRI: preventing and countering transnational security threats, terrorism, and points of nexus. Actually, very much in line with your research study. Countering criminal enterprises, illicit financial flows, corrupt practices. Promoting rule of law, safeguarding access to justice, preventing countering violent extremism and radicalization, and the one that we probably will be focusing on, namely the issue of promoting responsible use of new and emerging technologies to address crime and exploitations. So these are really the framework of what UNICRI is doing. And it doesn't really matter whether it's the field of research or the field of training. And these are our tools. And that's important for UNICRI to emphasize. These are really the tools that we always try to include in our programs. From the advocacy-oriented research to our knowledge dissemination, to our training and capacity building, to our field activities, to our partnership that we just talked about, evaluation and advocacy. In principle, we are working with everybody, member states, civil society, international and academic institutions, as well as other relevant stakeholders, also private companies actually. But in principle, all our work is based on what we like to call action-oriented research. It always feeds into our training, capacity building, legal advice, partnership, field activities, etc., etc. And in principle, our research is fruitful in many ways. One is our research tries to look into what is working and what is not working. And I always used to say that UNICRI is one of probably the only UN agencies in the UN that are allowed to fail. We sometimes fail. That's part of our research. We test what is working and sometimes realize actually it doesn't work. And that's also part of the research process. And then hopefully we learn from that, feed into our program or into our future program. At the same time, and that's more in line, I think, with the research that you were doing actually, we also research to assess what are the problems, what are the challenges, and what are the potential solutions. And it could be, and we actually did a bit the same, a research on the issue of financing of terrorism and trafficking cultural heritage. We just launched the research, or actually finalized the research on this issue last year. I think you mentioned 23, and we actually have a second edition coming on this issue very soon. So we have this research that we are constantly producing 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 research studies a year, where we analyze, we do the research on what are the problems out there, what are the potential solutions that UNICRI can provide in terms of capacity building, legal advice for training. And it's a bit in this context that was also requested, in this context that I today would like to address the rising threat to our society, namely the issue of mis and disinformation. I think I outlined up here some of the growing threats. I think we already heard in the third presentation of the student today, some of the threats related to mis and disinformation. I'll get back to it in a second, but I'll just go back. We'll go back to our fourth strategic priority, namely the issue of promoting responsible use and new emerging technologies. As we're all aware, and that is often where I actually have to discuss with my son, I have to admit it, I'm not the expert myself when it comes to many of these issues. My son is, so I have to have this discussion with him instead, and I had the same discussion actually this morning. As we're all aware, the landscape of criminal justice, peacekeeping, and security is rapidly evolving. Technologies such as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, biometrics, etc., along with the rise of virtual and augmented realities, are transforming how we address the challenges of crime and exploitation. So although this is a specific strategic priority, it actually feeds into all the different priorities, whether we talk about organized crime, whether we talk about terrorism, violent extremism, radicalization, etc., etc. In other words, the role of new and emerging technologies as disruptors, enablers, and tools of crime is transforming the criminal justice landscape. Criminals can access new capabilities that optimize their methods for tracking, for profiling, and accessing targets and victims. An extensive spectrum of cyber crimes has also been incorporated into criminal domains of attacks. In addition, web platforms, virtual spaces, and social media have revolutionized how we experience crime and victimization. Ongoing research ongoing research, capacity building initiatives, and effective partnership, and here came again the issue of partnership, are essential to enhancing the knowledge, the skills of law enforcement institutions in preventing and countering cybercrime, the misuse of information and communication technology by terrorists and by violent extremists, and the spread of disinformation campaigns by many different threat actors. In parallel, it is imperative, of course, that we use these technologies responsible to uphold the integrity of peace operations, ensuring they advance peace, justice, and human rights. At UNICRI, and again, also because we are a research institute, we have made it a priority to monitor, research, and assess the potential risk and opportunities of these new and emerging technologies. We are especially focused on how they can strengthen crime prevention and uphold justice. As part of our 23-26 strategic program framework, we are focusing on promoting responsible use of new technologies to address crime and exploitation. And UNICRI is trying at least to pursue these goals with high standards of professionalism, integrity, and respect for human rights. And I think that is also fundamental principles upheld by the Center of Excellence in its effort to enhance policing and peace operation. Going back to the threats. So one growing threat that UNICRI has focused on is the harmful spread of misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech, particularly in the context of the digital age. I think I've heard one of you also mention can shape the perception of misperceptions. So evidence shows that the disinformation campaigns often target specific communities and individuals, increasing their vulnerabilities to hateful narratives and behaviors. These types of hateful narratives and hate speech in general are often leveraged by terrorists, by violent extremist groups and individuals as vectors to radicalize and recruit, and more broadly, to fuel societal polarization. So what are we doing? What is UNICRI doing? I just tried to outline here, raising stakeholders awareness, providing tools to detect and debunk false information, to organize capacity building activities for member states, through crisis simulation and tabletop exercise, fostering greater understanding of the distinction between mis and disinformation. I think one of the students also mentioned that this is empowering citizens in safeguarding their truths and preventing and countering disinformation, and improving media literacy through what we call a collaborative approach, and I'll get back to it in a second. So let me give you a few concrete examples. As I mentioned, we are working around the world. So the first example is actually from Mali, not only Mali, the region of the Sahel region. So as an example, UNICRI has worked on this complex interplay between disinformation, hate speech, and terrorism in the Sahel region through the project what we call the Mali Disengagement and Reintegration related to terrorism. So just an example, this initiative designed a set of engagement, empowerment, training sessions for young people to promote alternative narratives to violence with a specific focus on detecting and countering the propaganda and the ideology of violent extremist and terrorist groups, and their leveraging of hateful narrative against minority groups and others marginalized communities. In particular, the training focused on how to fact-check sources and to apply techniques to deconstruct stereotypes and to build counter-narratives. Very complex, very complicated, particularly try to have Mali and the Sahel region in mind how to actually undertake such activities. But this program, these activities, is an example of UNICRI's commitment to tackling disinformation campaigns by terrorists, by violent extremist offenders, and related online and offline threats of a very, I would say, diverse nature to guarantee comprehensive and inclusive responses tailored to both the local context, here we talk about Mali, and the online and offline dimensions. In this regard, UNICRI is committed to advancing projects and activities to protect democratic values and societal unity, and to avoid the spread of disinformation and related misinformation campaigns. We just go back a minute. At UNICRI, we believe that addressing the challenge of misinformation and disinformation requires, I mentioned up here, a collaborative approach. This includes raising awareness among stakeholders, providing tools to detect and debunk false information, improving the literacy, media literacy, and fostering a greater understanding of the, as I mentioned already, distinction between misinformation and disinformation. We must also recognize the essential role that citizens, local communities, and different stakeholders play in safeguarding the truth and preventing and countering misinformation or disinformation. Going back to the second example. So to raise awareness on these topics, just another example, UNICRI runs the annual summer school on misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech, which represent an introductory course aimed at understanding the phenomenon of disinformation, misinformation, and hate speech, and how they manifest themselves online and offline, as well as the tools available to combat them. UNICRI has also explored how to prevent and counter disinformation related to specific security threats that the Institute is addressing. For instance, in the field of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear risk, CBRN risk, we have conducted a study on the misinformation and disinformation and released a handbook on addressing deceptive narrative in this domain. In this context of CBN, disinformation is often aimed at undermining the public trust in authorities, inciting fear and violence, exploiting situation for financial gain. This handbook aims to enhance the understanding of CBN disinformation in the social media while developing competencies to prevent and respond to disinformation, specifically focused on techniques for debunking false information. It has been, or it was designed for individuals or agencies working in the field of CBN risk mitigation at the different levels who are or could potentially be exposed to targeted by disinformation from different threat actors, probably also in our region. To improve coordination between the government, educational institutions, the media industry, civil societies, technology providers, companies in their respective efforts to prevent CBN information, UNICRI has organized capacity building activities, including training workshops on tools and techniques to counter false and misleading information, and scenario-based exercises simulating a disinformation campaign for more than 200 government representatives from, I think actually from more than 25 countries, and the wide range of the government agencies. Misinformation, disinformation are exacerbated by the exploitation of technology, which is used to create a more credible campaigns at an exceptional speed. The role of artificial intelligence in the generation of fake or manipulated content, both audio and video, and particularly deepfakes, is an emerging threat that law enforcement agencies must be aware of to effectively conduct their operation. So to raise the awareness of this specific threat, UNICRI has conducted deepfake detection hackathon and different workshops focused on deepfakes and deepfake detection. Through our artificial intelligence center, we have established a specialized artificial intelligence lab in Hague, actually, UNICRI is advancing the global understanding of artificial intelligence in crime prevention, criminal justice, and security. It explores how technology can be abused by criminal actors to facilitate the growth of many different crimes. But it also can enhance law enforcement capabilities, such as identifying persons of interest and predicting criminal trends. Going a bit beyond that, just the misinformation, disinformation, we have already seen clear cases of how this same technology is being used to generate highly realistic child sexual exploitation and abuse material. In this regard, through our artificial intelligence for Safer Children initiative, UNICRI has expanded its so-called Global Hub, a unique repository of artificial intelligence-based tools for law enforcement agencies investigating crimes against children. Today, this Global Hub has registered more than 500 law enforcement officers for almost 100 countries. So the AI for Safer Children has expanded its capacity building efforts with specialized free training programs tailored to local and regional law enforcement needs. Since the launch, this session has benefited more than 1,000 investigators worldwide, with more agencies awaiting future training. We believe by equipping professionals with essential AI skills, these initiatives will enhance the investigation, while at the same time ensuring ethical and human rights compliant practices in combating crime against children. I think our work at the UNICRI illustrates or demonstrates how the spread of disinformation, whether in the context of conflict, context of terrorism or crisis, can undermine trust, create division, and destabilize societies. The Center of Excellence for Stability police units play also a critical role in addressing these challenges. As effective policing and peacekeeping cannot be achieved if officers themselves are subject to manipulated information, particularly in regions that experience heightening of new tension or conflicts. In this framework, it is essential to recognize the critical role that media plays in countering these challenges, from the ability to detect false information through fact-checking methods to their credibility in instilling and fostering critical thinking among the different segments of the population. In light of this, and I think it's up there, we have also established a new journalism public information program on the new threats that aims at bolstering the capabilities of journalists and public information professionals in crucial areas such as justice, crime prevention, and security through a series of short and long training courses. Still have time?
Yeah, they can put the price online so we can go to a
Well, try to stop here then. The last the training for journalists is still relatively new, so I can hear I'm running out of time, so I will not go too much into the details of that. Let me just say here then, UNICRI really support the Center of Excellence mandate to build trust and legitimacy in law enforcement institutions through the promotion of especially of accountability, as well as efficiency, transparency, accessibility to provide the highest professional standards in the law enforcement agencies. So let me say just in closing, let me reiterate UNICRI's commitment to support the Center's mission and its effort to develop effective research and as well as to promote or provide mutual training courses among the different international organizations. UNICRI and the Center are committed to upholding the core value of justice, peace, and human rights throughout these efforts. The work that we do together here will leave a lasting impact on global peace and security, and we are proud to be part of this critical collaboration. I could speak much more about all the training courses and on this topic, but I really will invite you all to go to our website. You will be able to see all our research, the different training courses that we are providing, and also some of the, I think, some of the resultant findings that we are now using for new training courses. So I thank you for your attention. I look forward to working together as we continue to advance our shared goals and I wish the participants of this upcoming academic year the great success. I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Leigh. Thank you so much. We'll have plenty of time to deep dive in our future cooperation, hopefully also with the signature of cooperation agreement.
Absolutely.
And now we have the Deputy Police Advisor, Yun Tan. Welcome online from New York. The floor is yours, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, distinguished director of COESPU and distinguished colleagues, friends, and ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to join you for this opening of this COESPU academic year. You know, as our colleague just mentioned, you know, the UN police have enjoyed a long-standing and a very productive relationship with COESPU, including your valuable support in enabling this UN Police Day during our conference of the International Association of Peacekeeping Training Center last November in Pakistan. So as you know, the UN police are often among the most visible representatives of the United Nations in the countries where we deploy, with an authorized strength of more than 8,000 women and men from more than 90 countries serving on the front lines in the United Nations police operations. Throughout our history, the UN police have proven time and again to be essential to multilateral efforts to prevent, mitigate, and resolve violent conflict. And we are a key enabler of the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping, or A4P, and A4P Plus initiative. So as conflict in high-risk areas become deadlier and their impacts more widely felt, essential peacekeeping capabilities such as protective infrastructure, communication, situational awareness, mobility platforms, effective pre-deployment and in-mission training, and the technological skills can provide the flexibility that empowers our UN peacekeeping. A4P or A4P Plus underscores that the success of peacekeeping depends on the collective commitment of all stakeholders to better prepare, train, and equip uniformed personnel through innovative approaches, including our stronger partnerships. One of the key pillars of A4P Plus is improving the safety and security of our uniformed personnel and our peacekeepers. So in his fourth iteration, the action plan to improve the security of UN peacekeepers continues to structure those efforts. So to this end, we have discussed emerging good practices and lessons during our workshop for the Formed Police Unit coordinators and trainers, such as the ones hosted by COESPU in Ventesa, I think last year, that aim to create mobile training teams comprising UN-trained and certified instructors for limited deployment to peace operations and some emerging police contributing countries. So no doubt, strengthening the safety and security of our peacekeeper is close intertwined with improving the performance and accountability of our missions. All peacekeeping operations now have mission plans or comprehensive planning and performance assessment system we call CPAS in place. So our efforts to enhance joint planning also include ongoing work to strengthen integrated planning and operability among police, military, and civilian components. Efforts also continue to assess the UN police performance against objective norms and standards based on our key document, we call it Strategic Guidance Framework for International Policing, SGF, and supported by the UN Police Training Architecture Program. I would also like to point out that COESPU has been invaluable in this development and continuing implementation of this initiative. The UN Certified Instructor Development course run at COESPU last March was another example of such successful cooperation. The UN Police Division and the Integrated Training Service are looking to work with the Police Training Center of member states, UN agencies, funds and programs, and other partners organizations such like COESPU to form a network whereby the use of existing facilities, personnel, and other resources can be further rationalized to better meet the needs of peace operations in the field at either zero or almost no cost. So in this regard, I would be grateful if COESPU representatives continue to participate in every meetings of the light coordination mechanism for police to ensure that cooperation. So I'm sure the police division and its international counterparts could provide the network with details of the projected numbers and types of personnel for this coming years and work closely with them to ensure that the right persons are trained on the right thing in the required quantities at the right time. So, ladies and gentlemen, collective efforts is required to address current challenge while remaining vigilant of evolving threats. So we must always strive to explore what more can be done by the United Nations, our member state, and partners to protect peacekeepers in the service of global community. So I hope what you gain during this academic year will help all of you to contribute more to this dialogue. So let me conclude by saying that ongoing efforts and collaboration of member states and strategic partner like COESPU is essential to maximize our individual and collective relevance and impact on the ground. Thank you, colleagues, for your attention. Thank you.
The Italian Carabinieri Deputy Commanding General, Lieutenant General Mario Cinque, takes the floor.
Distinguished authorities, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, good afternoon. It's a pleasure, also on behalf of the General Commander, to extend the warmest regards to all of you. My presence at today's ceremony intends to underline the particular importance that the Carabinieri General Headquarters attributes to the COESPU initiative and its academic program. I would like also to express my deepest gratitude to the U.S. Department of State for the consistent support through the Global Peace Operation Initiative. This strategic partnership has been a pillar of COESPU's mission for 20 years, and we look forward to many more years of collaboration. A special thanks to Mr. Yun Tang, United Nations Deputy Police Advisor. His online speech has highlighted the meaning of strong cooperation between COESPU and the UN Department of Peace Operations. It is a very significant partnership, constantly reinforced by key agreements, including the 2007 aid memoir, the 2010 Memorandum of Understanding, and the 2018 updated Cooperation Action Points. Since its founding in 2005, COESPU has remained committed to its core mission, preparing qualified personnel for UN peace operation by upholding
upholding its value, principles, and standards. Today, this mission is more relevant than ever as the world faces growing security challenges, from fragile states to conflict zones. Addressing these threats requires coordination, innovation, and high-level expertise, all of which COESPU provides. Secondly, I would like to underline the importance of COESPU partnership with the national and international academic institutions to accomplish its mission as best as possible. Since 2021, we have signed 19 cooperation agreements with prestigious university and research centers, including COE and the U.S. Army Institute for Peacekeeping and Stability Operations. This collaboration enhances our training programs through faculty exchanges, research, dissemination, publication, and internship. I would also like to praise the Carabinieri personnel for their professionalism, dedication, and internationally recognized expertise. Their commitment is the basis of COESPU's success. Among our key activities in 2024, I highlight the capacity building strategic consulting course, which provides participants with valuable insight into conflict analysis, capacity building, emotional intelligence, and communication. This course brought together high-ranking officers from North and South America, Africa, Europe, and Middle East, fostering a rich exchange of knowledge and best practice. As we celebrate COESPU 20th anniversary, the numbers speak for themselves. 50,000 peacekeepers from 128 countries have been trained here in Vicenza and abroad. Looking ahead, we remain committed to growth and innovation, including the launch for the first French language courses, made possible by the collaboration of French National Gendarmerie. This initiative will enhance our support for Francophone countries. Our joint efforts will lead us to the 2025 celebration, a moment to honor COESPU's legacy and reaffirm our shared commitment to a safer, more stable world. I encourage all of you to continue striving for excellence and supporting the spirit of partnership that defines COESPU. In closing, I sincerely express my gratitude to all who contribute to COESPU's success. Your dedication and expertise drive our achievements. I would like also to express my congratulations to all the students for their very interesting thesis dissertation and to all the speakers for their contribution. My gratitude to the COESPU Deputy Commander for his words of appreciation. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am very proud, and it's an honor for me to declare the COESPU 25 academic years open.
The authorities will now leave the hall. Please rise.
So please join us in the Fenoglietti room where we had the coffee break for a dinner. The students from the school will join the deputy commander, the commanding general, and myself for a group picture here. So we'll be delighted to have a picture with the students. So all the others are free to go. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Stavo ottenendo.